The Beast is a 1996 made-for-TV miniseries from director Jeff Bleckner. The movie opens in full frame? Well, this was shot for TV. After several minutes of credits and random ocean footage, we encounter the ironically named yacht, Occupational Hazard. A couple are floating along and decide to put the boat on autopilot so they can have some sexy time. This water pump's a metaphor for what's going on in the cabin. The guy goes to sleep and the wife goes to check on the boat. It's nighttime? How long was sex? Water starts pouring into the cabin, and oh, this is all just an elaborate prank to get this guy to pee himself. Is it a good idea to steer with your foot? She wakes up the guy and they call for help. They take their belongings and get in a life raft. And down goes the Occupational Hazard. They're floating along when something hits them.
What's that smell?
The wife gets knocked over by something, so the husband goes in looking for her. He gets back in the boat and something bad happens. In Graves Point, Washington, this is the fishing boat captain, Whip Dalton. That's not really the name they gave him, is it? He calls for his daughter, Dana, to let her know her friend Hadley's here. Don't you bring home any of those underwear models like my other daughter. He's out on his boat with his shipmate Mike. Apparently some fishermen have been using illegal traps, and it's drastically reducing the fish population. Lieutenant Marcus from the Coast Guard is flying in after leaving her post in San Diego. The pilot's trying to spark up some small talk with her.
So, what's your situation, Lieutenant?
Afraid's not a snowball's chance in hell resonate with you, Ensign Rains.
My, she seems friendly. The helicopter finds the empty life raft. Lieutenant Marcus is going to take a look, but the pilot tells her that this is a bad idea.
Respect, sir. I advise against it.
We wouldn't be having this conversation if I was a man, would we, Ensign Rains?
Oh no.
Yes, sir, we would. It's your call, but I hate to fly back to base alone.
He suggests they call in Dalton to fish the boat out. They get the boat and meet back at the dock. Marcus checks out the boat and finds... Ew, what was that couple doing in there? The harbor master comes out to take the boat from them, which upsets Dalton. Dalton's cleaning up when he finds something that fell off the life raft. It's the weirdest butt plug I've ever seen. The harbor master, Skylar Graves, makes it to town. Dalton's at a bar showing off the claw. One of the guys gives him a name of a zoologist who can identify it. The next day they run into Lucas Coven, a fisherman who's there illegally trapping. Oh, so this is what Durant's been up to.
Jeez, Whip. Scare me half to death sneaking up like that.
How do you sneak up with a boat? Marcus goes to see Dalton. She hires him to take her diving to see shipwrecks on weekends. Dana really wants them to get together. Are you my new mommy? Dalton gets a call on a rotary phone. I haven't seen one of those in a while. He talks to the zoologist who examined the claw and is sending it out to an expert. Coven's piloting the boat when he sees something in the water. It looks like a squid. Wait, that's not a squid.
Baby wheel.
It's a baby fucking wheel, man!
The squid hits the boat and, oh no, I spilled my booze! Later, he's telling everybody about it at the bar. They don't believe him. The next day...
Any day now, one of those software developers with a 10,000 square foot house in Skylar Cove is gonna walk into that store, take one look at me, and baby, it'll be all over.
Hadley, that is so lame.
A girl can't dream?
Reach for the sky, Hadley. Dana, on the other hand, is going away to college to get out of this town. Hadley's scoping out the new arrivals and sees... Scooter? Dalton goes to see Graves to check out the lifeboat. He lets him know it's been destroyed. Dalton's disgusted with Graves because he's ruining their island. The girls bring the guys by to see Dalton.
Daddy, this is Spike and this is Chowder.
Spike and Chowder? Going by name alone, I want to set them on fire. The guys want to hire Dalton to take them down to a very dangerous shipwreck dive, but he refuses.
I've never been so embarrassed in my whole life.
Oh, Dana.
Gee, thanks, Dad. Made me look like a jerk in front of Spike and Chowder. Back at the bar, Coven's channeling his inner Rousdower. This stew's awful. What it needs is more booze. Since Dalton won't take them, Spike and Chowder hire Coven. Great move, you two. The guy pouring whiskey into his stew is clearly not the guy you want responsible for your lives. The claw Dalton found made it all the way to a very famous marine biologist.
You gotta see something, Dr. Talley.
Dr. Towley?
You wanna get high?
Talley identifies it as a claw from a giant squid. That weekend, Dalton takes Marcus diving. The girls are sunbathing, and isn't this primarily a fishing vessel? I'm pretty sure the area they're laying in would reek. The girls decide to go swimming, presumably to get the fish stench off of them. Dalton's trying to pull up the anchor and gets into a tug-of-war with the squid. They get home and he gets a call from Dr. Talley. He tells him about what he found and is coming to Graves Point to meet him. Dalton and Mike are watching a video Dr. Talley sent them about giant squids.
I never knew they got that big.
There's squids out there this big! Spike and Chowder go on a dive and become instant squid food. Coven calls the Coast Guard, who finds the remaining chunks of the kids. I guess Spike and Chowder have both been turned into chowder.
What's going on?
Oh, nothing. This is just the remains of those boys you liked. Dalton's telling the town about the squid. They're looking for ideas on how to get rid of it.
I'll catch this bird for you, but it ain't gonna be easy. It's bad fish. Not like going down the pond chasing bluegills or tommy cats.
Graves announces the Founders Day celebration is still going on. Please tell me he'll be wearing the anchor jacket. Graves decides the right thing to do is to hire Coven to kill the squid. Brilliant! Dana and Hadley are getting gussied up for the party when they hear someone at the door.
Dad.
Dr. Talley's arrived in town with his assistant, Christopher Lane. Dalton's headed to the Founders Day party, so Talley and Lane go with them. Dana calls dibs on Lane. The group goes in and sits with the Coast Guard.
Do you dance?
Only if it's a slow one.
Smooth. What's with his hat? Since Dana's with Chris, Hadley pairs off with Rains. This sounds really dirty.
Take out the blanket and spread it all out.
Family goes to the party, and just to be jerks, they leave their dog tied in the back of the truck. I hope he fills the entire bed with poop. Someone's chilly. Chance the dog senses the squids nearby. Oh, you leave that dog alone, movie! I'm still traumatized after the fly, too. He's telling everyone about the squid, but they don't speak dog. He chews through the rope and jumps in the water. Oh, I've made a terrible mistake. Dalton's friend asks him why he isn't putting the moves on Lieutenant Marcus. Dana and Hadley seem to be getting along with their dates. She's a lot less grumpy than the Hadley I know. Catherine is upset. But I brought you iced tea! She's upset because Graves assigned a man as the Coast Guard liaison instead of her.
But he's a man, and that's what's important.
If she starts talking about the pink tax, I'm out! Dalton makes a pass about as subtle as Torgo, and is met with similar results. The family returns and oh no! Oh, okay, good. Coven heads out to kill the squid. Lieutenant Marcus is talking to Rains. Is that a hickey? Do people still do that? Hey, it's the Vectrex boat game. Dalton's showing Talley the dead whale parts Mike found. The Coast Guard liaison is, of course, a giant wimp. Dana stops by to offer them some sandwiches, and Chris runs after her like an excited puppy.
Okay, I'll make you guys some sandwiches.
Let me help.
That's all right. She knows how to make sandwiches.
That's not how you make sandwiches. Using the squid finder, Coven drops some dynamite and blows it up. It's still alive, so they unload their guns into it. They head back to shore, but uh-oh, that wasn't the only super squid. In walks the multimillionaire and owner of SeaWorld, Osborne Manning. They discovered that, yep, this thing's only a baby. Marcus has a meeting with her commander, who informs her that she'll be replacing the guy who was a complete putz. Lane tells Dana a little more than she probably wanted to know.
I was always turned on by the ocean.
Talley's overseeing a group heading down in a submersible to look at the squid's habitat. Graves was able to get Mr. Jameson to have a spot on the submersible, so now Lieutenant Marcus can't go. So Chris, Ebbets, and Jameson are going in the submersible. They begin to lower it into the water, and I don't think that big crack in the window is a good sign. While down there, they see the mama squid. The squid crushes the submersible and kills the crew. Dalton goes off to find Graves and tells him he's responsible for the deaths today. Dana is very upset. All the boys I like keep being eaten by squids. She once whipped a promiser he won't go after the squid. Graves strong-arms Coven to go out and kill the other squid. Marcus is feeling guilty, so Dalton tells her the story about his wife's accidental death.
We found parts of her.
You found parts of her?
We found parts of her sailboat, but we never found her.
Oh, of her sailboat. Ah, nothing like death to bring people together. Mike desperately needs money, so he takes a job from Coven to hunt the squid. He already regrets his decision. The locals tell Dalton that Mike is out with Coven, so he rushes to save him. Oh, now they're being overly dramatic. The squid attacks Coven's boat and tears it apart.
Toy boat, toy boat, toy boat, toy boat, toy boat.
Dalton makes it there in time to see nothing but flotsam and jetsam. Thankfully, Mike managed to survive, and Dalton rescues him. Because of the deaths, Graves is now in Dutch.
It's time you send somebody out to die. Send yourself, Graves.
At the hospital, Doc tells them Mike's gonna be okay. Dalton's at the bar getting good and drunk. Hadley talks Rains into going to see the dead squid. Hadley tries to touch the squid, but Mama's having none of that. Get your hands off him! Well, that's certainly some 90s compositing right there. Dalton gets home and oh, it's bad. He's got the drunk sweats. Marcus tries to show concern, but he's certainly too drunk to be civil. The locals try to get Dalton to kill the squid, but he tells them to get lost. Dana's being sad at the beach when one of the locals comes over to tell her dad's a coward. She goes to confront him about it. I know you promised me you wouldn't go after the squid and leave me without a mother and a father, but that was before people started calling you a coward. Dalton goes to see the group and makes some demands. Manning shows up with what they had to attack the squid. Oh great! It's a giant fishing lure. To kill the squid, they have harpoons filled with cyanide. They're playing the soft, sexy music, which could mean only one thing. If they have sex while he's blackout drunk, would she be ghost riding the whip? Manning isn't filling the harpoons with cyanide, he's filling it with tranquilizers. The next day, Marcus demands she wants to go with them. Graves, on the other hand, begrudgingly comes along. You thought I was kidding. It's a giant fishing lure. Deep sea squid searching montage. Dalton has a much better squid finder than Coven. The squid's trapped by the lure. It comes to the surface and they harpoon it until it stops moving. Shouldn't more than one guy have the harpoon? You know, in case they miss? They think it's dead, but Manning knows it isn't. They're dragging it to shore when the engine gives out. They call for help, so Manning tells them the squid's not dead. Okay, fine. So keep hitting it with the tranquilizers until it ODs. Dalton cuts it loose so it doesn't drag them under when it wakes up. Graves takes the lifeboat, and he's gonna be dead soon. Rains gets Dalton's message and flies the chopper to rescue them. Guess who's awake? Yeah, Graves gets his comeuppance. The squid kills Manning and eats Tally. Dalton dumps fuel all over the deck and sets the squid on fire. They then get away in the helicopter. Kaboom! No snappy one-liner? The next day, Dana's happy to see her dad and Catherine are still alive. I don't know about you, but tonight, I'm thinking calamari. The movie was based on the novel by Peter Benchley, who is most famous for writing Jaws in 1974. He's written numerous works of fiction, most of which revolving around the sea, like The Deep, The Island, and White Shark. In 1991, he wrote Beast, which was adapted to The Beast and made into a 2-night miniseries for NBC. It was fairly faithful to the source material, although in the book the main character was Whip Darling, and in the TV series it was Whip Dalton. While many people enjoyed The Beast, even they will admit it's essentially Jaws, and they swapped the shark for a squid. It follows many of the same beats and ends in a very similar way. In the early 2000s, Benchley regretted writing novels that made people fear sharks and became an advocate for marine conservation. He wrote 3 books: Shark Trouble, Shark! True Stories and Lessons from the Deep, and Shark Life. He most likely would have written more, but sadly died of pulmonary fibrosis in 2006. The movie came out at a time when extended TV miniseries were all the rage, although most of them were based on Stephen King novels, so it was a nice change of pace to see one based on a Benchley novel. The Beast did very well, so ABC adapted Benchley's novel White Shark to Creature in 1998. The Beast is an entertaining giant monster movie. It's not the most original thing, but it's done well enough that you don't really mind while watching it. It was even nominated for 2 Primetime Emmys. The cast is solid, with William Peterson dominating the majority of the film. This came out around the same time as the hit Fear, so I'm sure it helped to get him some much-deserved attention. Karen Silas played Lieutenant Marcus. In the beginning, she comes off as grating, but becomes more relatable once we see that she genuinely keeps getting screwed over. She didn't play the damsel in distress or the hotshot Mary Sue. She put her life on the line as much as Dalton. Larry Drake is great as always, even as the drunkard Coven. The practical effects are pretty good too, with the big reveal of the squid at the end looking pretty decent for a made-for-TV movie. It's 3 hours long, but they pack enough story and character development in there that it doesn't feel like it. While The Beast is nowhere near the quality of Jaws, it's still leagues better than something like the 1997 Shining readaptation.
How's Hadley?
Just calm down a bit. Thank God she didn't sleep with both of them.